Hi and welcome to today's presentation with Eltel, presented by CEO Casimir Lindholm. Myself, my name is Max Bacco and I am an equity research analyst here at ABG within industrials. And with that said, please go ahead with the presentation, Casimir.
Thank you. Yes, welcome to this virtual meeting. My name is Casimir Lindholm. I'm the president and CEO of Eltel since September 2018. Previous to that, I was president and CEO of Lemminkäinen, the second largest construction company in Finland, and I also history within Eltel during 2008 and 2012. We can go to the next slide. So Eltel in brief, Eltel was founded 20 years ago. We are mainly active in the Nordics. We have a Nordic strategy. Part of that strategy is to focus on the 4 Nordic countries and step by step close down operations outside the Nordics. For the moment, we have more than 900 million in net sales and almost 5,500 employees active in the Nordics and then mainly Poland and Germany. Listed on a Nasdaq in Stockholm since 2015. We can turn the page. Our main purpose is securing the lifelines of modern society. This is of course always vital, especially vital in COVID-19 times. So we are both building and maintaining the networks on the power and telecommunications side. Our main customers are the main operators, the main telcos in the Nordics, and of course the main utility power companies as well. We can turn to the next slide. Sustainability, it's an integrated part of our business and the way we work. I will pick a few things from this slide. Health and safety, of course, key when you work in infra and with infrastructure and networks. Our reduced lost time injury frequency last year on group level was 4.9, and that's an industry leading level. I think we can compete with other similar industries like the construction industry. So we have improved, we're on a good level here. The other part here that I would pick on is environment. We are working together with the main telcos in the Nordics regarding CO2 and reduction of that. At the moment, that work focuses around production planning and first-time resolution to make sure that we don't travel unnecessarily. Of course, the fact that we are maintaining and servicing and building the networks, we also are part of making sure that private persons and businesses do not need to travel unnecessarily because we secure the lifelines of the society. We can move to the next slide. So how is the net sales divided? Well, the 4 Nordic countries is the main part of the business. Going into 2021, that's 85% of the net sales is in the Nordics. We have a target of growing in line with the market. A lot of focus on improving our operations internally. Still a lot of potential in that area. And then going forward to 22 and 23, we will focus on acquisitions on a small, medium scale. And that will be done also in the Nordic countries. A lot of focus on productivity, efficiency in our day-to-day operations as well going forward. We can move to the next slide. So what is driving the business? Well, first of all, in power, there's a lot of regulatory demands. There has been so. For example, the storms in 2008, 9, 10 has demanded that power companies will secure the networks by digging cables underground. That's one typical demand from the regulator. Other parts is technical shifts. We see a large shift from the old copper networks on the telco side to fiber, to 4G and now to 5G. That is typical for our business. And at the moment, we are both building 5G and at the same time dismantling 3G and also the old poles and lines in the copper networks in the Nordics. So both maintaining, building, but also dismantling. It's an aging infrastructure we work with, especially on the power side, so that needs to be renewed, and there's a demand on that because there's new energy sources that are now being activated, especially wind parks and so forth, and the old infrastructure can't handle all these new investments. So that goes for the whole of Nordics, but also for Europe in large, that the infrastructure is old and needs to be renewed. Some outsourcing cases still out there. The main ones have been outsourced during the last 20 years in this industry, but still local ones or part of bigger operations that will be outsourced in the years to come. We can move to the next slide. So we are on a transformation journey. Eltel is a turnaround case. We're halfway through that journey. We'll look at some numbers later on, but you can clearly see that we have been restructuring the company, focusing on the Nordics. We have improved our operations, the quality, all the production KPIs. We have a healthy balance sheet now, and we have a positive EBITDA, and we have also started guiding for 2021 and also have started guiding towards 2023 when we aim to reach a 5% EBITDA margin. The next phase then after we have also taken care of the old projects and operations outside the Nordics in a professional way, then the next step is to look at M&As in the Nordics. We can go to the next slide. And here you can see the evidence of that we have been successful in turning this company around and improved the financials quite a lot. It has been possible because we have been divesting assets, we have been taking down the risk in the company by not focusing on high voltage project business outside the Nordics going forward. And we have also been able to improve the operations and the invoicing process. We have gained market share in the Nordics. We have been successful in protecting the market leading position and also gained market share in the large tenders, in the large frame agreements that we have won during the last 2 years. We have also implemented a leaner structure, a leaner organization. We have a small group structure on top, and then we have countries responsible for the business locally, driving it through the country model, and we have been investing in our countries in the Nordics and made a lot of changes there as well during the last 2 years. So in that sense, the first part of our transformation journey has been successful, and now we are in the second part. We can go to the next slide. And this can also be seen from all the numbers. I will pick a few here. Of course, net sales has been coming down because we have been divesting and we have been closing non-strategic assets and projects. And we have been able to turn the company into a positive EBITDA margin. And as mentioned before, we are guiding to improve that year on year until 2023 to reach the 5% that we're targeting. At the same time, you can see that the balance sheet is on a healthy level now, down from over 200 million euros in net debt down to 67 by year end 2020. So with that said, the company is well positioned in the Nordics and well positioned both for margin improvements going forward. And that is also supported by the wins we have done on the frame agreements towards the big telcos and big power utility companies for the years to come. And then on top of that, we will look into smaller M&As going forward to support the top line, but also to support the margins. I think that was the second last slide, and this is the last slide. Well, basically, why to invest in Eltel? First of all, we're the market leader, the only player that is present in all 4 Nordic markets, with a clear market leader, both regarding size, but also regarding quality and the other KPIs that are important to our customers in the Nordics. There are trends supporting growth. We see growth in 5G, 5 to 10% of net sales in the years to come, let's say 3 to 5 years, will be supported by 5G. There's also a lot of fiber investments coming in Finland, in Norway, and in Denmark. We still have internal potential in operational excellence, improving the margins going forward, and that I see just as an opportunity that is good, that we still have work to be done there internally. We are historically a quality-focused organization. We have been, and we are again, the quality leader in this business and in these markets. And on top of that, we have cross-border synergies. We can learn from each other how we run our operations, how we work towards our customers, and we also have cross-border synergies from our resource company in Lithuania regarding, for example, resources that are really skilled on mobile 5G and on fiber that we can utilize in the Nordic countries. And that was the last slide on the summary where Eltel is today and where we are heading and why this is an interesting company to look at.
Yes, thank you very much, Casimir, for the presentation. Now over to a few questions. So to begin with, as you said during the presentation, you presented a target of a 5% EBITDA margin from 2023 and beyond. Could you please break down how you intend to reach this target?
Yes, partly that is coming from the fact that we still have in 2020 numbers and partly in 2021 numbers will have old projects that we're finishing that they have not been contributing to the margin much outside the Nordics, and that is mainly in high voltage in the power business. So those projects are being finalized as we speak, and they will be finalized during 2021, both legally and financially. So that is, of course, a burden short term on the margins. So after 2021, we'll not have that business anymore, except for in Poland then. The other part is that, as I mentioned, we have operational improvements that we can see happening now in the Nordics step by step. There's still potential for improvements there. And then we have a good market supporting us both in Finland, Norway, and Denmark. I mean, the order books are good. We have been successful in the markets, and we have been able to win new contracts with better terms and conditions than before.
Okay, perfect. And within your next phase, investing in sustainable growth, you mention M&A as a driver of growth. Could you elaborate on what types of acquisitions and companies that you are interested in?
Yes, we are looking into the Nordics from a country perspective because our countries look a bit different today. One way of looking at it would be to look at Eltel Finland, which has a quite perfect split between communication and power, and try to duplicate that into the other Eltel countries. That could be one way of looking at M&As. The other part would be to strengthen our position from a geographical perspective locally and see what kind of company would add and strengthen our position in the local country. And then on top of that, our business mix is a bit different from country to country. There are things where we can actually internally learn and move things cross-border where we are successful in one business in one country and maybe not in the other, and organically grow that business. The last one and the last part is to look at other types of closely related businesses that where we might be active in one country and in another not, and that is maybe indoor solutions, or move a bit higher up in the value chain and look at IT documentation, design related companies that could be of interest for Eltel.
Okay, perfect. And as you mentioned during the presentation, the rollout of 5G is a driver within the communication business. Could you please give us some more details on how Eltel is exposed towards the rollout of 5G?
5G is, of course, now happening as we speak. The pilots were made last year, and now it's full production, especially in Finland and Norway and partly Denmark. Sweden is a bit behind due to regulatory topics that they're a bit late. But the volumes are coming, and I mean the capacity in the 4G network is up to the roof. So the telcos wants to invest into 5G to release capacity from 4G networks. That is one driver. The other part is that the end customers, especially on the business part, is really demanding 5G. Then how fast 5G will develop is a bit unclear at this moment. So that's why we say the next 3 to 5 years, depending on how fast the market is moving and how much investments are coming our way. And of course, then we need to be successful in the tenders regarding 5G. But for the moment, I mean, the demand looks really strong. 5G is, of course, different to 4G, but technically, of course, but we are installing 5G in similar places as 4G to start with, basically rooftops and so forth. So there are no demands for having the rights to install in those areas. But then when the density gets bigger, then of course you need requirements regarding permits and so forth might affect the rollout speed. But in the early days, it's more of rolling out 5G in places where there are existing equipment already. And as mentioned before, at the same time, we have talks and contracts around dismantling of 3G then in similar areas.
And on another note, you mentioned in the presentation that you have reduced your net debt. However, Eltel has in previous annual reports stated that bank covenants and the possibility of not fulfilling them is a potential risk for investors and other stakeholders. So the question is basically, is this still an issue for the company?
No, it's not. And when we extended the current bank agreements, that was done in a totally normal fashion. So in that sense, that period is over for us. Of course, it was a topic in 18 and 19, okay, but not on these levels of net debt anymore. And then looking at the positive result from last year, and then a guidance of a even better margin this year.
Perfect. And one last question. With the new segmentation that you presented in the Q4 2020 that will begin in Q1 2021, we can see that Sweden is the segment with the lowest EBITDA margin. Meanwhile, Norway is well above the 5% target. However, the split between power and communication is rather similar between the two countries or segments. So why is Norway performing so much better than Sweden?
Well, historically, I think what has happened in Sweden is that, and we are not alone regarding this, is that when the fiber was booming, the fiber market was booming in Sweden, there were too many companies, including Eltel, looking at only at the top line. and not on the margins and the risks and the quality. So unfortunately, there's a lot of write-downs in the results in Eltel Sweden over the last couple of years. Now we are through that period, and we have cleaned the history, and we have made a lot of changes in Sweden, and we can see that it's gradually improving, and it was actually improving more than any other country in 2020. Of course, still from a very, very low EBITDA number, and starting to get closer to a turnaround. So that is the history in Sweden, and then of course the market as such regarding fiber is clearly lower than before in Sweden. What comes to Norway then, on the other hand, is in a positive market regarding investments into fiber in 2020, and on top of that now we have 5G, and to be honest, then our operations in Norway is really well run, and we have invested a lot in the past into processes and systems and so forth. And then there are some differences regarding the markets as such. So it's not only one topic that differs between the countries, but looking forward now, what we will see is of course that the countries will become closer to each other regarding margins when you look at the strategy period until 2023.
Okay, perfect. I think that was all the questions I had for today. So thank you very much, Casimir, for the presentation, and we will hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, and thank you for having us, and thanks for the questions.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.